Welcome, friends and neighbors, to a great day in Newark. My name is John Schreiber. I'm the CEO of this place, and I'm so happy that so many of you are here. This event is completely sold out, which is, you know, when you're a promoter, that's the stuff you're looking for. So thank you for being here. Many months ago, NJPAC's executive producer, David Rodriguez, and I began to have a series of conversations with Tanuja Daney, the leader of the Dodge Foundation, Mariana Schaefer, its vice president of programs, and Isabel Gonzalez, Dodge's poetry creative officer. And we were immediately excited because Dodge shared with us plans that they have been laying out to focus its work in Newark and for the Dodge Foundation to relocate down the street here in Newark. They have done that. Let's give them a round of applause for that. And today, we are really pleased to formally unveil our new partnership and the new focus in Dodge's work on poetry as a catalyst for social change. This is a collaboration between two organizations, a performing arts center and a foundation, that are passionate about amplifying voices that have not yet been heard and about making positive change in our community. Dodge has been here, the Dodge Festival, since 2010, and we have been excited to introduce the students we serve to poetry through this festival and through the education programs we do in hip-hop, arts, and culture, and of course the City Versus program we operated for 3 years with Rutgers Newark, a jazz and poetry program. We did a program here a few years ago called Represent, a night of hip-hop, jazz, and poetry that turned a spotlight on great poets in Prudential Hall, our biggest venue, and we realized that there was enormous potential for more. The great thing about poetry, it's an art form that is available to just about everybody. There is no barrier to entry. If you can find a pencil, you can potentially be a poet. And if you can write a poem, you are able to tell the story of your life, to share your experiences in a way that will resonate beyond yourself. You can point out injustices. You can call for reform. You can lament the past and propose new ideas for the future in a way that will make people sit up and listen. Our whole intent here, I know Dodge's, our work in education, is to amplify our students' voices, to encourage them to tell their authentic stories, and give them the skills that will ensure those stories are heard. That's the focus of our community engagement work here, to bring the arts to everybody, on our stages, off our stages, and poetry is an art form that is easily delivered off stage and into schools and church basements and libraries and parks, and easy to practice, even if you don't have a piano or tap shoes or a turntable. If your goal is to ensure equitable access to the arts, if your ideal is to harness the arts as a catalyst for change, well, poetry is a terrific place to start. It is such an unintimidating and joyous and effective way for young people or anybody new to the arts to share their ideas. So when we started this conversation with Dodge Poetry about the reality of what life would be like if Dodge moved to Newark, about the possibility of joining forces, we understood immediately that the whole city could be our canvas for this work, and that the work we would be something that happens all year round, not just at an every other year celebration, as joyful as those have always been. To have Dodge Poetry embedded in this city, to have them committed to making poetry something celebrated and indulged in and shared at every opportunity, I think it'll be transformational. Yeah. And it makes so much sense for this to happen here. This is Newark, where every other wall is a mural and our mayor is a poet. This truly is a city of the arts, and poetry should be its common language, and I know that that's Dodge's intention and ours too. Dodge's desire to know and engage with our community is real, and NJPAC's existing partnerships across Greater Newark, our relationships with artists and our marketing and production experience make this one of those situations where, as the cliche goes, 1 and 1 equals 3. I am delighted to welcome Dodge Poetry to our neighborhood. I know you all are too, and I am beyond excited about this work and what it'll mean for our community all year round in all of our wards. I want to introduce Tanuja Daney, the president and CEO of the Geraldine R. Dodge Foundation. She will share more with you about the foundation's evolution over the years, its move to Newark, and all the plans that are in place for Dodge Poetry in the seasons to come. Tanuja, stage is yours.
Well, good morning, everyone. My heart is full. What a warm welcome. It's just amazing to see this is standing room only. Thank you, John, for that warm welcome. We are so excited for this exciting initiative and the expansion of Dodge Poetry in Newark. Before I really jump into it, I want to express my deep, deep gratitude to the Dodge Squad, the Dodge Foundation staff who's here today, our trustees who are here today, specifically Preston Pinkett, our board chair, Barbara Moran, our vice chair, Eleanor Horn, Barbara Bell Coleman. These folks also make up a poetry committee, a special committee that helps shape this expansion and this initiative. Deep, deep gratitude to the Dodge Squad, because we work together to do great things, and so thank you. I also want to thank Mayor Baraka. Mayor, it just means the world to us that you're here today. You're a leader in this work, and we're so very grateful. And we are so excited to call you our neighbor and to be here in Newark. As many of you know, in December, the Dodge Foundation announced that we're moving our headquarters here in Newark, just up the street at 550 Broad. We're so very excited about this. For decades, Newark has been home to social and racial justice movements, and immersing ourselves in the areas creates a unique opportunity to strengthen our understanding and be in and of and engaged in the community in a very different way. We look forward to calling Mayor Baraka, NJPAC, and all of you, our neighbors, so thank you so much for this warm welcome. We set a course in 2016, the Dodge Foundation, on a vision for a just and equitable New Jersey. And over the last few years, we have been steadily supporting organizations doing this work and moving our funding in that direction. Last year, in 2023, we made an ambitious goal to move the majority of our funding to organizations addressing the root cause and repair of structural racism and inequity in our state. Well, I am pleased and thrilled to share that not only did we meet that goal, we exceeded it. The majority of the Geraldine R. Dodge Foundation's funding supports racial justice organizations supporting this work. And the Dodge Foundation, as many of you know, has and continues to be one of the largest funders of the arts and culture sector in the state of New Jersey. And we're so excited to expand this poetry program, and it's my privilege and honor to talk about that with you today. When we are reimagining the Dodge Foundation and our work around racial justice and social justice, reimagining our longest, most cherished program, the Dodge Poetry Festival, was so very important for all of us. The Dodge Poetry Festival celebrates its 20th festival this year. And the program has been running for 40 years, and this is Dodge's 50th year. I stand on the shoulders of so many that have come before us and before me. I think of Scott McVeigh, who was at the helm of the Dodge Foundation when the idea of the Dodge Poetry Festival was first born, and Martin Farwell, who led the program for over 20 years. And so many, many more that I cannot name, but know in our hearts we have such deep gratitude for every one of you who helped shape this poetry program over the years. Today we have the opportunity to celebrate 40 years of Dodge poetry as we expand beyond a biennial poetry festival to include poetry programs throughout the year in Newark. We have 3 goals with the Dodge Poetry Program. First, to mobilize communities and fuel movements for social change. To amplify poet activists who challenge and reframe existing narratives and forms. And third, to create spaces for empathy, healing, and repair for individuals who have experienced systemic racism. Poetry is a catalyst for social change. When we first thought about expanding the Dodge Poetry Program, it was only natural and immediately to think about NJPAC as our partner. NJPAC, as John said, has been the host and the home of the Poetry Festival since 2010. As an anchor institution in Newark, a great partner and thought leader with us in this programming, and the expertise and community partnership, we can and are already working together to bring poetry to new places and spaces and to activate local Newarkers, community members, young people, and more to engage and mobilize for social change. A special thank you again to John Schreiber, Dave Rodriguez, the entire NJPAC staff and team. A hearty thank you from all of us. You have been thought leaders in this work with us, and change makers and agents and advocates for poetry and arts and culture in Newark and beyond. Finally, I'm very thrilled to introduce Isabel Gonzalez. Isabel has been with the Dodge Poetry Program for 8 years, and we are absolutely delighted that she's leading this program as our Poetry Creative Officer. As you will hear more from Isabel later, but I had to share it now, you will see and hear, and have already experienced, I'm sure, Isabel's deep care, and I have to read this because it's a lot of P's, and palpable passion for the power of poetry as a tool for social change. Isabel, we are honored and lucky to have you on the team. So thank you all so much. My heart is still, I will never forget this morning. Back to you, John. Thank you, everyone.
So Mark Morial was the mayor of New Orleans for 8 years, and I once asked him, what's the most important characteristic of a successful mayor? And he said, showing up. Every place, wherever you're needed, whenever you're asked. Small things, big things. And we all are so lucky in Newark, those of us who live here and work here, to have a mayor who always shows up and who cares deeply and has not only a vision, but the practical skill set and the team to make stuff happen. So he's also, by the way, a distinguished poet. So when we talk about Newark as a city of poetry, how lucky we are that Ras Baraka is our mayor. Ladies and gentlemen, the Honorable Ras J. Baraka.
I thought this was a press conference. It's like a show up here, man. What's happening here? You can count on John to bring him out. Appreciate NJPAC for sure. It's always a pleasure being here. This day is a great day for us all. I want to thank Dodge Poetry Festival for making the right decision to relocate to Newark, New Jersey. And I'm glad, they finally got some smart people in it. And, David, who harassed me yesterday to make sure I came here and say exactly what they needed me to say. No, I appreciate that. NJPAC is, I wish my father had the opportunity to be here today to see No. At NJPAC, who, sometimes he wasn't always, in the supportive of. And, the Dodge Poetry Fest coming together in Newark, talking about equity and social change here in this room, means that we've made a few steps in the right direction. And I appreciate that, being the mayor of the city, but also being a resident of the city of Newark and the son of Amiri and Amina Baraka. More than anything, I appreciate that. Just want to make sure I hit the things you want me to hit. I know John said that, poetry and other people as well is social change, but it depends on who's writing it. My father said that the noblest function of art is to oppose what is ugly. And we just haven't collectively figured out what has been ugly to us, because what's ugly to some is beautiful to others. Oppression always looked good to the oppressor. And so it's important for us to at least agree on what ugly looks like. And then when we write our poems could, diminish what is ugly and raise what is beautiful all the time. I grew up listening to poetry. Linton Kwesi Johnson in my living room, Miguel Pinheiro, the last poets. In my house, I got to see Miguel Algarín get up and read poetry, Felipe Luciano get up and read some poetry. I've heard poets from different languages and different parts of the world, Irish poets, Asian poets, poets from the Caribbean, from Africa, come in my house and read poetry. I heard Max Roach play the drums in my basement. Nina Simone on the piano in my living room. So I had an opportunity. So I don't have a right to be anybody else but who I am today. But I was listening to two kinds of poetry. The poetry they taught us to read in school. And I always thought that the poetry I heard at home wasn't actually poetry based on what they were teaching us in school, until I became educated outside of school. And I realized that the poetry I was listening to was just our voices expressing who we were, our blues people saying our story in a form that we thought was right. I want to introduce people that I grew up listening to for a long time, the last poets. Before I do that, I was instructed to read my father's poem. I'm going to read some of it because it's long, and I'll read the rest of it on Friday when I get on the stage. It is called Digging Max. It was written for his 75th birthday, and it's at 75 all the way live. It's my father put that in parentheses before the poem. But the poem's title is Digging Max. Max is the highest, the outest, the largest, the greatest, the fastest, the hippest, the all the way past, which there cannot be. When we say max, that's what we mean. Hip, always clean. That's our word for artist, Jolly, Nzuri, Ngoma, senior, Congero, leader, Mwalimu, scientist of sound, sonic designer, Trappist definer, composer, revolutionary, Democrat, birds black in June, engine, Brownie's other half, Abby's, Jaylee, Yagrath. Who bakes the Western industrial singing machine? Who temperatures of syncopated beyond this? Our sharp mean, Papa Joe's successor, Philly Joe's confessor, AT's mentor, Roy Haynes inventor, Steve McCall's trainer, As Bahania, Jimmy Cobb, Elvin, and Cluck. I'm gonna stop there. I had to stop myself. I was about to read the whole thing. But I have the great opportunity and pleasure and incredibly humbled to bring before you. Many of you know, if you don't, then you're not hip. And you probably should go read something or grab a few things and understand who you're about to be in front of here on stage. The last poets were probably, for me, part of the first poets. So, ladies and gentlemen, the last poets.
All right, invite you.
You know, Mary Roz's father was my mentor, and I wrote a serious poem with him. It brings back memories. I remember we were sitting in my car on Broad Street, and I used to always try to get some revolutionary instructions from Amiri. So I was constantly asking him questions. And we're sitting there talking. And you know, when you're talking to somebody, usually you look into their eyes, and they look into yours. His eyes left mine. I said, what the hell's going on? There was a sister with a nice body walking down the street. I said, man, you ain't no revolutionary. You a gash man. And he said, man, if you don't write that, I will. But he loved the flowers in the garden. And I wrote a poem about it because it was right there. He was a beautiful brother. And I know he's up in heavenly heaven smiling at his son, the good mayor of Newark, New Jersey. Give him a hand, please. The last poets were born May 19th, 1968. It was a very pivotal year. That was the same year that Martin Luther King was killed, on April 4th. And May 19th is also a holy day. That's the day of the birth of Alhaj Malik Shabazz, known as Malcolm X. So on that day, in a park in Harlem, the last poet started. And the original members was a brother named David Nelson. He is now a black Hebrew and refers to himself as David Nelson. Another brother was Garland Kane. And I was the third brother. And then as time moved on, we had many members change. And David was the first to go. And the brother that took his place was a Puerto Rican brother who was sitting next to me, Felipe Luciano. Please give him a nice hand. As time moved on, the group changed some more. I put a brother in the name, well, he wrote a poem, a very famous poem entitled Niggas Are Scared of Revolution. And his name is Umar bin Hassan. Give him a hand too, please. Another one of the brothers in the group who recently checked out about a couple years ago. I always say he had the most influence when it came to hip-hop because he rhymed everything. If you had a conversation with Jalal, it could easily turn to a rhyme. And of course, when you hear hip-hop, it's always a rhyme. Jalal Mansur Nuruddin is no longer with us, but his poetry will last forever. Give him a hand, please. And one of the oldest brothers and one of the first brothers to go in the second tier, his name is El-Hadi, Suleiman El-Hadi. He wrote storytelling poems, and he was also a very good brother from Philadelphia. Give him a hand also. You're hearing behind me the heartbeat. We've always had a drummer. In the beginning, it was a brother named Elijah, and he left around the same time Bob Marley left us. But we've had for the last 30 years the brother you're hearing now. Please give Baba Tunde a big hand. So we're going to give you a little something because Friday is going to be the big show. But we want to set it off a little bit. If we only knew what we could do. 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 If we only knew what we could do, we stop fussing and fighting and feeling blue. If we only knew that we have juice because of an African connection, we can't get loose. If the light was on in our minds, wouldn't diss ourselves so much all the time. Stop and realize without skies, that's the power to change what's before our eyes. There's poverty and misery. We bring hope, joy, love, and security. There wouldn't be no need like it does at night. No one lives in the dark, everyone sees a light. If we only knew what we could do. If we only knew what we could. If we only knew
what we could do.
If we only knew. If we only knew
What we could do.
if we only knew. If we only knew how bad we are. If makes the sun disappear with a brighter star. We can feel strength. Help those who are weak. If we'll be stepping in the rhythm like Malcolm speaks. Though you thought you were a chicken, but was made for kicking. Walking around with your head hanging down. Looking what you can feed in this city of greed. Open up your eyes. You know you can fly like an eagle to the sky. Higher than high. Need no crack. Back and tight. As the bones from that dog, give them right back. Only knew what we could do. If we only knew. If we only knew.
We could do.
If we only knew.
What we can do.
If we only knew.
What we can do.
If we only knew.
What we could do.
If we only knew.
What we could do.
If we only knew what we could do.
It was in that Bronx place. The bedroom with the putrid smell of failure high up near Fordham Road.
The Bronx.
I heard the Sunday bells of Mass. Stayed up 2 nights whispering of confessions in that woman's ear. Lust, power. But the clanging, the clear, steady clanging of the bells scared me.
BX.
It was my funeral I was planning in that bed.
BX.
And death was waiting very matter-of-factly outside my door. There'd be no notice in the papers, and very few would come to the wake.
BX.
The collapse of heart and soul was soft and silent, not loud. My spirit crumpled suddenly. I felt no dream, no ambition, no poem, no song. What I saw was what those who give up see. Stark, cold reality that accepts its nothingness without expression and doesn't speak.
BX.
In that moment, I felt the slow slime of past. How when you play too close to the demon, it'll keep you in that part of the Bronx that gives you valid reasons for marrying that girl
BX.
and staying in that cheap co-op.
BX.
Maybe having some kids amidst the gunshots. It was an ooze I created, and it stuck to me with its pussy pink tentacles every time I made a plan and thought I was serious. This ooze, this horrible feeling of my faith's unemployment, scared all the light particles away.
BX.
No smiles, no laughter. People said I sounded mature. Fools. I stopped my dreams and became real. Real old, real pessimistic, real brutal. Nothing mattered. The addiction was pragmatism and common sense. I began to envy those who had invested in crime forever. After all, they seemed to have the goods, and they were always having fun, weren't they? Things came effortlessly to them, and I would spend hours listening to men with dark spirits and darker futures lecture me on love and life and children. And then I heard the bells. Those clanging fucking bells. I heard the coritos we used to sing in church. It wasn't my imagination. Some straight-haired, cheaply dressed, fresh-breathed, clear-eyed, clean-clothed Puerto Rican Pentecostals were having a service across the street. The songs, the bells, the songs, the bells, the muffled preaching and alleluias pulled me back to a sliver of wisdom called possibilities and redemption. Peace was possible, the walls whispered. I didn't get it together that month or that year, but it was the beginning of the hill climb that would save my life. Days later, with dimes for peanut butter and jelly and nothing for car fare, I declared to my firstborn son, we will leave this place and we will never be poor again. And we will smile at the sun and thank God for life and never come back to this place in hell. It happened. We left. And I've forgotten to remember how easy it is to forget and fake yourself out when you forget the source and the gifts and the dreams and the possibilities. And the gifts and the dreams and the possibilities have faith. And the gifts and the dreams and the possibilities. Hallelujah.
Thank you. Friday, you'll get a bigger taste. This was just a little snack, that's all.
Thank you very much.
And the good part is there's more or less poets on Friday night, right? And Mayor Baraka, too. The first manifestation of our new partnership is the concert that we will present on Friday night. David Rodriguez, our executive producer, who knew Max Roach and worked with him over decades, was actually his bass player for a time, coordinated this concert along with the woman I want you to meet right now. She is Isabel Gonzalez, and she is the creative poetry officer, best title ever, right? That's what I want to be in my next life. I want to be the creative, but I'd have to be a poet, which is not possible. But Isabel and David have been working together for months. It's a wonderful collaboration to observe between the two of them. They know so much, and they have such good sense about what's meaningful to our audiences. So here to tell you about what's happening on Friday night in our special celebration of Max Roach, his music, and, of course, some amazing poetry, is one of the most joyous people I have ever met. And when you see her up here, you will agree with me 100%. Ladies and gentlemen, Isabel Gonzalez.
Oh my gosh, this turnout. Everyone in this room fills my heart. I'm thrilled to celebrate with you all today, both our launch and expansion alongside our great partner, NJPAC. I see so many friends, both long-standing supporters who have been committed to Dodge poetry since 1986, and also newer friends, poets, artists, activists in this room. Thank you for being here with us this morning. Thank you to Nuja and John for your leadership and your commitment to social and racial justice. And Mayor Baraka for welcoming us into your neighborhood and for advancing a community of citizens that are invested in the arts and its ties to activism. This shift is very personal to me. I was raised in Newark on Lake Street in the North Ward, just blocks away from Branch Brook Park. And now, as a young person, I was supported and nurtured by my Newark community, and now I have this great opportunity, a great responsibility, really, to be able to return back to my old stomping grounds and have the capacity to support Dodge Poetry's goal to mobilize for social justice. This is particularly important to me as a woman of color who understands the need for great change in this nation. There's already such important work happening in Newark to support Black and brown communities, and I'm grateful Dodge is investing deeply in us. The events we're designing together offer an opportunity to explore the intersections of poetry and social justice, particularly engaging Newark residents and Newark's young people. We've developed a 5-person advisory committee that is offering insights on how we can use poetry as a catalyst for social change. I'm honored to be strategizing with these committee members, which include Sean Battle, Tamiko Bayer, yay! Tamiko Bayer, Dr. Naomi Extra, Willie Perdomo, and Vincent Toro. And they all bring different perspectives on art, poetry, activism, and justice. We've been working to build out a really powerful year of programming, and I'd like to give you a sense of what to expect this year. This Friday, we launched the Max Roach Freedom Now Suite, a celebration of the centennial of Max Roach, drummer, bebop pioneer, and civil rights activist who explored social justice issues and racial inequities through the lens of jazz and poetry. Our very own Mayor Baraka will perform with other poets, including Sonia Sanchez, Saul Williams, and Vincent Toro, alongside phenomenal musical guests. Just blows my mind. And never featured before at Dodge, I'm humbled that the last poets will bring radical music and poetry this Friday, which will propel us into a year of movement building, exploring how we can impact and care for Newark while holding space for much continued joy and celebration. Can't help it. Later this spring, we will also build upon the work Newark poets are doing in exploring poetry as a tool for protest. We're also collaborating with Rutgers Newark and community partners to offer programming for young people to share their voices around issues of social justice. And just want to shout out that the director of the Rutgers MFA program is here with us, Rigoberto Gonzalez. Thank you for your support. And for the first time ever, really exciting, Dodge Poetry will participate in Sounds of the City, NJPAC's long-running free outdoor summer concert series. We will culminate the year by celebrating the 20th anniversary of the beloved Dodge Poetry Festival on October 17th through the 19th. And we look forward to sharing more details with you about the festival, about the programming in the coming months. And I really look forward to getting to know all you folks better. Let's connect, let's find each other. Here now, we're in Newark once a week, then in March twice a week. I will be here, so I just look forward to getting to know all you folks better. And now I have the honor to introduce a very special guest, Tyehimba Jess. I've long since admired Tyehimba's radical work, both on the page and off. Tyehimba is a champion for Black voices in the literary arts and is the board president of Cave Canem, an organization committed to cultivating the artistic and professional growth of Black poets. In Tyehimba's own poetry, he documents, celebrates, and explores the complicated history of Blacks and Black culture in America, particularly those stories, those voices unsung. Tyehimba read with us in 2010, our first festival in Newark, and joined us again in 2020 for our virtual festival. What I love about Tyehimba's work is how he complicates the narrative through the use of poetic form and music, so much music in his work. He is the author of 2 books, Lead Belly and Olio won a Pulitzer Prize, along with a host of other prizes and recognition. He has received numerous fellowships and is a professor of English at the College of Staten Island. I feel grateful to have Tyehimba here with us to celebrate. Come on up, Tyehimba. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Isabel, and thank you for this invitation. And it's really an honor to be here with y'all in this packed room. And it really is it's an honor to be on the same stage with the last poets and Mr. Baraka. And I'm just honored to be here. Just going to share one poem They told me 5 minutes, so I try to stay in my little time limit. But I offer this in the idea of peace. And I don't come here as representing any organization, just representing myself as one poet. This is one black man's prayer for peace. It has several epigraphs. The first, a nation that continues year after year to spend more money on military defense than on programs of social uplift is approaching spiritual death. Martin Luther King, Jr. The second is, the goal is to have an endless war, not a successful war. Julian Assange. And the last is a quote from last year, exactly a year ago today, from the Bulletin of Atomic Scientists, who put the doomsday clock at 90 seconds to midnight, which they did again today. They put it at 90 seconds to midnight and called it a time of unprecedented danger. It is 90 seconds to midnight. I wanted to pray for peace and was told that these black man prayers necessitate hands folded or above my head or behind my back and are preferably only delivered on my knees on the asphalt at police gunpoint or whispered alone at night in my pillow, rather into the dollarized ears of politicians perched on top of ballot boxes. I was told my prayers for peace are too unwieldy and require special delivery of a sort that is way beyond my budget, which is nowhere near that of Raytheon, Lockheed Martin, General Dynamics, McDonnell Douglas, Honeywell, or Halliburton. I was told that my prayers are too cheap and fly by night, like most black men, they said, to matter. That these black man prayers are frankly obsolete, only worth pennies on the dollar and depreciating rapidly. I was told that to pray for peace, it is best to wait until after the next election cycle and to collaborate with those who pray for more war and less diplomacy, less listening, less peacemaking in the meantime. I wanted to pray for peace, but my prayers won't fit in the donation envelope, too swollen and sodden with sweaty exasperation after generations of baptism in generational wars. My country up to its neck in weapon sales, dividends, and stock capitalization, and World Bank amortization ever since before I was born. I was told that my prayers for peace do not have the advertising budget for even 1 second of one commercial on MSNBC, CNN, or Fox. And not enough cash or cachet for one line of one ad or article in the New York Times or the Washington Post. I was told that my prayers for peace violate YouTube's community standards. That these mutinous prayers have been flagged and shadow banned as misinformation on all social media platforms. I was told that my prayers for peace are a political hoax. Prayers puppeted by a foreign voice, not my own. I was told that my prayers for peace are mere propaganda. that peace movement is mere parlance for political party, that I'm getting played by our enemies, foreign and domestic. I was told my prayers for peace are a menace to our current war, which must be fought before we get into the next more important war against yet another more important enemy. I was told that my prayer for peace is as good as a prayer against the turning of the globe or the clockwork running of an empire. I was told that my prayers for peace are destructive and delusional, bad for the economy, unpatriotic, soft-headed, and even worse, impolite dinner conversation. I was told that my prayers for peace will make my teeth fall out and my manhood soft, lower my credit score, drain my bank account, and toss me out on the street. I was told my prayer for peace is, frankly, not a very original poetic idea. Cliche, a tired polemic done before too many times, so why even try to sing that old song? I was told my prayers for peace are too long and meandering, that they need to hurry it up and get going, that ain't nobody got time for all that. I was told so many times, dear reader, that I gave up my prayer for peace, or at least I tried to. I swallowed it down like bad medicine to swirl in my gut and sink. But here it is again, lifting its head into my throat, telling its stubborn story with all its tacky misfortune, with all its hackneyed, florid, simple glory smoldering on my tongue. In the middle of war, for the sake of war, this prayer for peace. In the middle of profit, for the sake of war, this prayer for peace. In the middle of nation, for the sake of war, this prayer for peace. In the middle of chest-lacerating pride, for the sake of war, this prayer for peace. This prayer, staggered off the knees, stupid with hope, weathered with history, soul clapping, striving, buying up the air in my throat with the only thing I can afford. This breath I share with you. This costless, woeless bray. This prayer to all gods and therefore to none. This prayer to all humans and therefore to all gods. This prayer above my head, behind my back, unfolding around me down to the last furled flag and unfolded fist. I surrender to you this open-palmed, melanated prayer for peace. A prayer I can't finish without you. A prayer in search of. Amen. Peace.
And thank you, Tayimba. In search of amen. And this stupid idea of hope, right? That's what some folks might call it, but this is change work, this is systems change work, and thank you for all being part of this. It's an important movement. We're all here, we're all committed. Please come find me. I'd love to talk with you. I'd love to connect. Let's continue talking.
I don't know if you burst into tears when Isabel was talking earlier, but I did. I don't know, and she did, and we all did. But, we hope to see all of you Friday night for our Max Roach celebration. But as important, all throughout the year, we're going to see you all over the 5 wards of Newark. We're going to be every place. And if you have ideas for Isabel or for Dave or for any of us about what could make Dodge poetry really resonate in every nook and cranny of our city, whether it's at Symphony Hall or the Newark Museum or our Newark Parks or La Casa de, you name it, we can bring poetry there if it makes sense. As long as there's an audience, as long as there's a desire, we can talk it over. So Dodge is here. Dodge is here for all of us. And see you soon, and thanks for coming. Okay.